We'll get started as people kind of trickle in. We have some more participants that we're going to join, but they'll come in as they do. But just in the interest of time, we'll get started. So thank you so much for being here and welcome. Um, you are dialing in from different places, and I just wanted to kind of just say thank you for making the space today out of your in your lives. An hour is a short time for me to share all that I want to share, but also I realize how long an hour is when you are meeting the demands of your lives and your parenting. To kind of put this time aside, you've probably had some coordinating that you've needed to do to be here, and I appreciate you kind of giving us this time and space today. So, a few housekeeping notes. We'll keep everyone on mute, but please kind of unmute yourselves when there will be opportunities to share during our time together. I will keep the chat closed for most of our time together, except in the end, just as a way to be present and to really be with what we're working with and talking about today. And then there'll be a question box where you can add any questions that we can kind of address at the end if anything does come up. We will have again opportunities to share during our time together, but just if there's anything that's feeling pressing, kind of to hold that till the end. And then, we're all parents, and so if there's anything that is calling your attention, we understand, and just finding presence to be here in however way feels right for you today. So this space is for all of us to be with our real parenting moments, the messy ones included, where compassion meets us right in the middle of the mess and not so much after we've cleaned it up. And that is the beauty of compassion it is it has the capacity to meet us when things feel messy or rough and add that gentleness. So, as I imagine you all share this understanding with me that parenting is perhaps one of the most beautiful and the most demanding roles that we'll ever be in our lives. Um, and compassion gives us a way to hold both the exhaustion and soften the edges of that, and also the joy and the limitless capacity that we have to love our children. And then if you ever feel like you are have if you've ever felt like you're falling short or that there's a sense of not enoughness, I can raise my hand and say that you're not alone. Um, I think all of us, I think safe to say, may have felt that way sometime in our lives. Parenting tasks us with this profound responsibility to care for and bring up these beautiful human beings. And in doing so, we're the leaders of our families. But also, while we are showing up as these leaders, we're also holding our own most vulnerable parts that inevitably show up as parents. So a little bit about me. I'm Deviki. Some of you I know, some of you are new. So I'm Deviki, and I created Nurturing You, Nurturing Them, which this is a kind of a taster for, out of my early days of parenting, which were beautiful, yes, but also completely disorienting, where I thought I was naively very prepared when I came into being a mom and that it would be the most natural thing. And while it is a very natural capacity that we have to be parents, I wasn't quite prepared for how much my limits would get tested, how much my triggers would show up. What I found myself needing was a space where the advice was a little quieter and that there was a space for compassion to be with what was happening for me in those real, raw, messy moments. And speaking of messy moments, I have them every day. In fact, today, this morning, my son, my patience was limited, and my son asked me a question that reminded me of the work that we do today. I was quick to impatience, and he asked me, Mama, um, which is bigger for you right now, your non-patience or your love? And I was like, that completely kind of quietened the impatience and brought me back to the love, but also a great reminder of how that love and the space of compassion can be a balm and a soothing for those moments that feel rough and tender for us too. So my training, a little bit, just quick overview of my training and what I'm bringing here. So I have a background in counseling psychology and marriage and family therapy is what I've studied, and then licensed as a therapist and an expressive arts therapist. And a few years ago, I participated and completed a applied compassion training program, which really kind of opened this door for me of how we can apply compassion and where the 6-week course was born. So my work is about creating safe spaces for parents like you and me. Um, from those early days of parenting, I really wanted to have a space where I felt held in all that was. And really the underlying kind of image for me as I came to this work was kind of to create spaces that felt like a hug for parents, where parents would be, where compassion could meet us in the middle of it all. And like you, I'm also learning. I have an 8-year-old who is also teaching me, like I just kind of illustrated a few minutes ago. And kind of learning together is a big part of what this work is about too. We all bring our own wisdom. We all bring our experiences. There's no one child, no two children are alike. No families are the same. And the practice of compassion kind of gives us, rather than a formula, it kind of gives us a way to hold our parenting in a way that feels true and right for us. So over the next hour together, we'll do a practice to connect with our intentions. I'll introduce a key topic with a practice, and then we'll talk about some real life applications on how we might be able to use this. And then we'll close with a takeaway. And if you feel kind of moved by this work or more interested at the end, I'll speak a little bit about how we can continue and an offer for those of you joining me today. So just so you know, everything we do is an invitation. This hour is for us to kind of try things out, see how they feel. You'll be called to share at certain moments during our hour together. And if you feel called to, I welcome that. And if today is a day that you want to have a more quiet, kind of observing presence, that is welcome too. Whatever feels right for you is just the way that I invite you to show up. So my hope is by the end of this time together, you'll have a clearer sense of what compassion looks like in action during real parenting moments. We'll do a little bit of a kind of understanding through a research-based concept and then a practice that applies to that you could use right away in your challenging moments. And then my hope is that when we leave this hour together, that maybe there would be a little bit more gentleness towards yourself as a parent on this journey. So to get us started, I'm going to put the QR code. If you have a phone or in the chat, there should be a link of how you are arriving today. So just one word, whatever the first thing is that comes to your mind. Could be tired, curious. I'm going to share, I'm going to share the screen that has this. We're going to see. So just any one word about how you're coming into this space today. And as you type your responses, we'll see this populated. Let me know if anyone's having curious. Open, ready to learn. And when more of us, more than one person have the same response, those words are bigger. So kind of to see what our shared energy, our shared focus is for this time together. Okay, if anyone hasn't had a chance to, and is still waiting on, if you could just let me know with your hand, otherwise we'll move on. So thank you. There's more curious. A curious is a big one, open, ready to learn. So as we kind of entered into this time together, overwhelmed, yes, yes. Yeah, thank you. A moment as I get back to. So I'm sorry, just having a bit of an issue right now. Could anyone unmute and let me know if you see the screen with the slides?
No.
No, you don't. Thank you. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so just a few agreements as we enter this space. How this is something that we do in our 6-week program, and this is a more collaborative process when we do it during the 6-week program. But just in the interest of time, I'm going to just suggest simple ways that we can make this space feel more supportive for everyone. And by doing this, kind of helps us hold the layers of our experience, all that we're bringing in today. So the first one is confidentiality. What we say here stays here. Some of us may know each other. Others might be new to this space. But in order to create a trust for us to kind of show up with what feels true for us, I invite us to kind of hold confidentiality. The second one is self-kindness, which is a bigger part of our practice in compassion and self-compassion. But we're here just to practice and check things out today. Kind of small steps in your own way, at your own pace. And just for you to kind of take this time to try things out, not know that you're going to leave with some big, ready to learn and fuzzy. I see more coming in on our screen, but yeah, so just small steps that we can do at our own pace. And then non-judgmental. And this one is a big one, both for ourselves, but also as we're listening to others. I know when I have shared my more vulnerable parenting moments where I have, flashed to irritation or anger, that kind of sense of shame or judgment comes up for me. And to kind of, even as we think about them, just to hold that this is our place to learn and to be with those moments. So to kind of approach yourself and your own process and each other's with generosity and openness. And then kind of to take care of yourselves. This is something that is, I think, fundamental in being parents is our ability, our kind of navigation or negotiation, and how we are able to show up and take care of ourselves too, which some of us find harder to do with all the demands that meet us. So maybe using this time to step away, to stretch, to get something to drink if you need to, and just kind of honor your process and your what feels right for you in this moment. So we have confidentiality, self-kindness, non-judgment, and taking care of yourself. If these sound good to everyone, if you could just kind of raise your hand, and if there's something here that's missing, then yeah, maybe we could add that in there's a poll that maybe we could add in, but it's fine if you don't have something else that you need to add. Even a thumbs up if your screen is off. Okay. I don't see anything coming, so it sounds like this. Oh, okay. Um, just a moment. Um, see the results of this. Okay. Right. So thank you for doing that. So finally, what is compassion? So defining compassion. Compassion always is, so firstly, when we think about compassion, perhaps we might have images that come to mind. Mine was perhaps this like calm parent with chaos around them, kind of in the Zen-like state. And that was a mistake. That was not an accurate version of what compassion is. So compassion is our ability to recognize, it's a natural response to suffering, recognizing it and choosing to respond to it with care. Compassion always and only arises in response to suffering. When we talk about suffering, we're focusing on everyday micro moments when our experiences differ from how we want it to be. So a couple of definitions. This one is from the training that I took. So compassion is a distinct response to suffering that includes taking action to relieve it. And the key insight here is that compassion is not just a feeling, but it's action oriented. There is movement in it. Another definition that beautifully illustrates compassion is that it's a complex, unfolding process in mind, heart, and body that shapes our response to suffering. This kind of way of thinking about it involves a whole person response, integrating mind, heart, body, and the response to it. So, what do we mean when we talk about suffering? So, the word suffering can bring up a lot in terms of imagery, in terms of iconography. We think of the big moments, and of course, the profound moments of grief and loss are suffering. But how we think about it in our work in compassion is those micro moments where our experience is different than we want it to be. And that's how we'll think about it for our time together. That irritation that happens, the impatience, the worry, the self-doubt. Examples could be kind of what happens when we're trying to get out of the door in the morning and shoes are not being put on in a timely way, when we're trying to get to work or trying to get to our next appointment and to get those kids to where they need to get. Bedtime battles with one more story, 5 more minutes. Patience fraying at the end of the day when you have these demands of your family, of your life, when you just want to shut the door or turn the lights down and go to bed. These are moments where compassion begins. So compassion invites us to turn towards this discomfort rather than push it away. It's our basic human capacity to recognize suffering in ourselves and in our children and to respond to it with care. And that response includes not just the caring instincts, but also this motivation to help and to do something. So the more we stay with these moments of difficulty, the more regulated and grounded we become. And this work in compassion is to slowly, bit by bit, increase our capacity to be with this suffering. It doesn't mean that we don't set limits. It means that we hold both the boundaries and the care at the same time. And we do this by increasing this awareness of suffering happening, leaning into suffering, and from that place, being able to respond with that care. And when we talk about compassion in this way, perhaps it stirs something, kind of a recognition or a longing of this capacity to hold the boundaries with the care at the same time. And maybe that's what's brought you here today. Kind of a wish to bring a little more compassion for yourself, for your child, your family into everyday life. And this is where intentions come in. Intentions are the bridge between compassion as a concept and compassion as an action. It's what helps us keep turning to what matters, kind of like our parenting GPS. So as we explore this parenting GPS, it starts with an intention. And an intention is simply a decision to do something. Sometimes we can act on it right away, sometimes we can't, and that is okay. So you might hold the intention to take a deep breath before reacting to a behavior that feels tricky for you. Or maybe a little bit kinder to yourself the next time you think, I should have handled that better. It might happen or not. What matters is our mindset. That we will keep moving towards it in small ways at your own pace. Even thinking about an intention, which is amazing, is in itself bringing that intention into your reality. So it kind of is like a compass that brings you back when you lose patience, when you say things you regret, or we feel stretched thin. The intention is it's not perfection, but it's remembering what matters most and kind of finding a way to return to it. And underneath every intention lives a value, a deeper truth that guides you. Maybe your intention is to pause before reacting, and the value beneath that is cultivating more patience in yourself. Maybe you want to be more soothing and bring more soothing to bedtime. And the value beneath that might be more connection and relationship with your child that matters to you. So values are like the steady ground beneath our feet. They don't shift when things get messy, but they're something that we can always return to. So intentions and values are what root us, and they help us anchor when things feel hard. So as we move into kind of a small practice around this, I'm going to invite you to think of a recent parenting moment. And as I do this, I invite you to keep it light, something small, something familiar, more like the flash. So kind of a tiny example for me would be the request for one more book at bedtime. I notice my jaw tightens when I'm really tired. But in that moment, my intention is to maybe take a breath, maybe 3 breaths, and then to respond from there. And the value beneath that for me is a relationship with my child, but also to build the capacity of presence as a person, as a human. So I'm going to bring up just kind of values. I know sometimes when we say values, they don't come to mind. So I'm just going to put up some examples for you to look at and kind of think about which ones might be important for you. And there might be ones on here that aren't represented. And yeah, but just as a way to see what the options could be. Okay, so let's practice. Is everyone feeling ready to go? Yeah. Okay, so as we move into this practice, I invite you to kind of either close your eyes or move your gaze downwards. You're welcome to switch your screens off if that feels more comfortable for this practice. Whatever feels like a way for you to kind of move your attention inward for these few moments that we'll be going through this practice. And I invite you to close your eyes or shift your gaze inward as a way to kind of check in with yourself and to move your attention inward. So taking a few moments to settle into this practice, finding a comfortable position wherever you are. Feeling your feet on the ground or underneath you, however you're sitting, just kind of your resting place and settling into that. Just notice if there's any tension in your shoulders, any untangling that's needed. Yeah, just inviting in a breath, breathing in. Maybe the exhale a little longer, breathing out. Not needing to be anywhere else but here right now, letting yourself arrive. And a reminder for this practice, bringing to mind a parenting moment that didn't go as you hoped for, but for today, keep it light. Something small and familiar, moment of irritation, impatience, disconnection, that's gentle enough to hold with curiosity. Just as you begin to notice it, looking at it through a simple observational lens, what was happening? Where were you? Who was there? Just staying with the facts, letting the facts help you see this moment without judgment. Not needing to fix anything, just kind of that observing lens. What was happening in that moment? And now gently imagine what it might feel like to meet that same moment with a little more ease or care. What might have you needed in that moment? What might your child have needed? And not to imagine yourself doing it differently, just noticing what quality might have supported you in that moment. Maybe patience, maybe steadiness, maybe company. maybe a single breath, letting whatever arise come naturally. There's no ideal here, just the direction your heart leans towards. Now taking a moment and a breath and sensing with the breath, inhale and exhale, the value underneath that quality. What does it point to in you? Is it presence, love, courage? Noticing what happens in your body as you connect with that value. Does your breath deepen? Do your shoulders settle a little more? Maybe warmth, spaciousness, or perhaps there's even a little tension that comes up when you notice this value. All of it is welcome. Sometimes the little tension simply means that the value is important to us. Taking one more breath and letting this value settle somewhere inside, perhaps in your heart, in your chest, or your hands. This is the beginning of connecting with what matters most to you as an individual, as a parent. Knowing you can return to this at any time. In a few moments, when you hear the sound of the bell, I invite you to open your eyes. Bing. Bell is not working, so I invite you to open your eyes. Technology. And as you kind of come back to this space with us, I'm going to kind of invite you to just jot down what came up for you. We'll have about a minute to do that. And just let it come naturally without editing. When you feel ready, stop writing and kind of always return to this. This is for you to, as a reminder of what that word is or what that intention and value is for you to return to at any time. So we're going to now move to more back to compassion and how it shows up in our daily lives and how it looks different from empathy. So we've talked a little bit about compassion, but I want to touch upon this very important distinction between these two capacities we have as humans, compassion and empathy. And we often think that empathy naturally leads to compassion, but research shows that they're quite different. So Olga Klimecki, who is a neuroscientist and psychologist, has done a lot of research, as has Richard Davidson. And their research shows that empathy activates stress and the pain circuits in the brain, while compassion activates networks of positive emotion, affiliation, perspective taking. They're completely different systems in our brains. So empathy is feeling with. Empathy is that capacity we have as humans to feel someone else's feelings. And sometimes that can drown us. It's important, it's automatic, and it's often strongest with those who are close to us. It can deepen connection, but it can also lead to something called empathic distress, when we feel so much of another's suffering that we can become overwhelmed and shut down. Compassion, on the other hand, is a feeling for someone, noticing suffering with care and the wish to help. It balances care for others and for ourselves. Compassion supports physiological states that help us engage rather than withdraw. It activates our brain's reward center, so compassion feels good. And it allows for calm responses and boundaries. So while they're both vital and human capacities that we all have, compassion is the turning point. In our parenting, that might look like when a child melts down. Empathy is when we feel their distress in our own bodies. Heart tenses, body tenses, heart races, and suddenly we're in this place of overwhelm. Compassion allows you to notice both their suffering and your own without drowning in it. And from that steadier place, you can offer a calm presence, set the boundary, or soothe yourself before responding. So each time we move from overwhelm to care, we strengthen that muscle, one breath, one choice at a time. Now, when we're doing this work, and this is kind of just here because it's a really important part of our work in compassion and kind of that turning to suffering, are our triggers. So when we are triggered or we're stressed, our brain moves into survival mode. And when that happens, we lose access to calm, we lose access to creativity, and we aren't able to respond from these places where we can kind of access this calm and steadiness. The practice of compassion and mindfulness help us to access that. Parenting tests our patience in split-second moments. So when the refusal to get dressed in the morning, the bedtime arguments, the meltdowns. There's a choice. And when I say choice, it isn't about a deliberate action. When our brains are in a triggered state, we are in a place of overwhelm. But these practices give us an opportunity to respond rather than to switch into that activation mode. And so a lot of what we do in our 6 weeks is kind of understanding our nervous systems and learning to steady ourselves and really spending a good amount of time understanding our triggers. So we're going to do a little practice of how we can shift into this place of compassion in those more tricky moments. And this is a practice that it beautifully represents what compassion is in parenting. It's a way that we can hold both our experience and our child's. It's called the In For Me, Out For You practice. So in the practice, we'll bring awareness to a moment. We'll do some breathing with compassion and find a way to respond from our center. So I'm really excited to share this with you. It's one that I kind of bring to my parenting on the daily, even in a short way, not the longer version we'll be doing today, but in a short kind of bite-sized way. It's a practice that I've also experienced in several trainings. Just a really great one to illustrate what this practice is of compassion in parenting. So I'm going to invite you again to kind of move your gaze inward. And if it feels comfortable to close your eyes, you can switch your screen off if that feels better for you. And resting your hands wherever they feel at ease. It could be on your lap, on your heart, or you can keep them wherever feels comfortable for the whole practice. And as you kind of sense into a more comfortable place in your body, I invite you to take 3 easy breaths to settle in. A slow inhalation and a soft exhalation. Allowing your breath to return to its natural rhythm. Breathing in, breathing out in whatever pace feels right for you. And knowing that your mind will wander, that is expected. And each time that you notice it drifting, kind of just bringing it back with the same gentleness you'd use maybe to bring a puppy back to your side when it's straying off. No force, just kindness. Just noticing when that happens in a kind of gentle coming back. Now for this practice, as with all practices, I invite you to take something, bring something to mind, a small moment. A moment when your child was struggling, maybe upset, disappointed, or overwhelmed. Something mild. Letting that image arise naturally at that moment. Noticing what shifts in your body as you recall it. Perhaps a tightening in your chest, heat in your face, or that familiar rising of stress. No need to change it, just noticing. Slowly shifting your attention to your in-breath. And as you breathe in, receiving what you might have needed in that moment. Was it calm? Was it steadiness, understanding, patience? Letting the in-breath be a moment of nurturing for you, like a warm light filling you from the inside. If a word wants to sit on your in-breath, it could be calm, ease, soften, support. Whatever the word is for you, let it. And if not, you can simply imagine a warm, gentle light entering with each inhale. Letting this in-breath support you in a way that you need it. And then following the next in-breath, shifting your attention to the out-breath. With each exhalation, sending your child what they may have needed. Was it comfort, safety, love, reassurance? Again, this might come as a word, a feeling, light, letting it take its own rhythm. In for me, out for you. One for me, one for you. And if you notice that maybe you needed more support in that moment, you can shift the ratio. Perhaps it's 2 for me, 1 for you. Or perhaps even 3 for me, 1 for you. Finding whatever that rhythm and ratio is that feels right for you and what you needed in that moment. You feel more drawn towards your child's needs. Let the out breath lengthen into what they require. Letting it all move like waves. Breathing in compassion for yourself. Breathing out compassion for them. A steady, boundless rhythm that holds both of you. Just for the next few breaths, letting your breath guide you. These waves of breathing in compassion for yourself and breathing out compassion for them. And if other beings come to mind, other children, parents, people struggling in any way, you can include them gently in the out breath too. No pressure, just allowing it to widen if it does, in whatever feels natural. Spinning a few more breaths, breathing in compassion for yourself, breathing out compassion for them. Allowing the image of your child or the moment to slowly dissolve, letting the breath return to an easy, natural flow. And noticing what feels different now in your body, in your breath, in your emotional landscape, what shifted even subtly. This is the essence of compassionate parenting, tending to your own nervous system first so you can become a safe harbor for your child. When you regulate yourself, you can offer them something they can anchor to too. When you feel ready, I invite you to come back and just take a few moments to write what came up for you. Notice how that practice felt for you. When you feel ready, I invite you to kind of put it aside and always you can come back to it if there's anything that came up for you that you'd like to write more about. I invite you to go back to it after our time together or whenever you remember or have the space to kind of explore this a little further. So parenting gives us lots of practice for this. The morning rush, bedtime battles, and meltdowns. These moments, we are able to bring in calm and compassion in small ways by using a practice such as this one to build our capacity, turning towards difficulty rather than away from it. And over time, that practice changes how we are wired, how we show up. And when we do this, we also help our children show up in with more steadiness, and it kind of supports their emotional regulation too, with skills that will support them through their lifetimes. So I'm going to, just in the interest of time, open it up to a sharing if anyone feels kind of called to bring up anything that came up for you during this time. If you noticed anything that was surprising, if there was something that you felt you might be a place in your life where you might be able to use this tool, I invite you to kind of open it up and to share any insight or yeah, anything that came for you. And if you don't feel so called to, that is okay too. But I'll just leave it open for another moment or so. Going. No, okay. Okay. Okay, we'll get back to it. So we're kind of coming to the end of our time and kind of closing with a closing where we kind of just as we're exiting this space together, feeling your feet on the ground and letting your shoulders soften, and just taking another breath, returning to our intentions that you set earlier, the quality you want to bring into your parenting. And calling to mind one word you can carry into your week ahead. Is it patience, presence, a pause, or something that's uniquely yours? Self-regulation. Thank you, Bhavna. And this word is kind of like your compass that can help bring you back to yourself. Thank you, Emily, and resilience. So these are your words, your anchors that you can return to at any time during your day, calling them to mind and invoking whatever energy they hold for you, kind of bringing you back to your intention and your values reflection. Thanks, Lara. Okay. So we're just ending this time together. I just want to thank you all for being here and for kind of following along with me through this process, and sticking it through the hour. I hope that you are able to leave with a nugget or even a question or a curiosity, with what compassion might look like for you in your everyday life. And if you feel so called, I'd love to hear about how this time was for you. When I hear from you, it helps me to shape this work to better serve our community of parents. So it should be chat. Do you all see the survey? Yeah, okay. So if you could take a moment. Okay. Then, if you're interested and if anything touched you during this time together, I invite you to join me for our 6-week program where we explore triggers, self-compassion skills, sustainable practice through weekly mindfulness and compassion-led practices that you can kind of really embody and have a deeper sense of what compassion looks like. And then boundaries, and a big part of this is this community of being together as parents. So in the 6 weeks, just a quick overview, we'll have, so each week is a different topic. We'll study compassion and mindfulness, self-compassion in the second week. We'll really spend a whole week looking at our triggers and skillful responses to our triggers and ways to regulate our nervous systems. Week 4, we'll explore the idea of common humanity and a deep dive into our values. Week 5, we'll look at blocks to compassion, what might be blocking our compassion, but also on the other hand, what our boundaries are and what we need to feel healthy and true in ourselves. And our last week is a week of integration. So the program is in February it's 6 weeks, February, same time as today, half an hour later. And it will go through March. So if that time works for you, I would love to have you join me for the 6-week program. Here is if you'd like to sign up today. I do have an offer for our participants today. You could scan the QR code, or there should be a link in the chat to sign up. And really, thank you so much for kind of being here with me today, for being with each other, and for trying these practices on to get a deeper sense of what compassion would look like for you in your parenting. Again, how it looks for you will be unique to your needs and how your family is structured, where your places of edges and flourishing are. And the beauty of the practice of compassion is that it meets all of it. So I will stay on here for another 10 minutes if there's anything anyone wanted to share, or if there's any insights or questions that you might have. But I also want to be mindful of our time. I know we're a few minutes over, and I really do appreciate your carving this space to be here with us. So I'll stay on till 15 minutes past. But yeah, just to say thank you, and yeah, just thank you for being here. And I hope to see you for the 6 weeks, but if not, I'm so grateful that you could be here today and try this on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a specific code we should use if we were signing up?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't catch it. Sorry.
No worries. It's this. I'll just put it in the chat. You see it? Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, Bhavna and Mana, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natanya. I'm so glad you were here. Thank you, Lara.
Hi, and thank you.
Hi, Evelyn. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you.
Really good to see you too.
I don't have any questions, but that was wonderful.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and I'm so glad that that you enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah, it was nice. I feel like it's in the hustle and bustle of everything, it's so easy to forget to just kind of take a moment to breathe and take a pause before reacting.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also I hadn't really thought about the difference between empathy and compassion, but it's very interesting how,
Yeah.
because I feel like there's a lot of talk of like sympathy versus empathy and how, you know, we're trying to be more empathetic than sympathetic. And so it's interesting to kind of see the difference between empathy and compassion, and how like compassion is even a step further than empathy. And
Yeah.
um yeah.
Yeah, it was a very profound insight for me too when I read this research, and kind of a way for us to also hold to access that place through that understanding too of is this empathy or compassion, and then to kind of pivot to choosing practices when we are in that place of empathy or empathic distrust, to kind of pivot to that place of compassion with this understanding of, oh, maybe this is not compassion in this moment that's calling
Yeah,
upon
I,
me.
yeah, I totally felt that, because I feel like after one of my kids has like a big emotional outburst and I'm just like exhausted and I'm like, I need a minute. I need to,
Yeah.
like I need to recover from this like extreme
Yeah.
uh, all these emotions, and kind of looking at it from that lens of like, oh, it's because I was taking it all on, as opposed to like being compassionate and like being a safe space for them, but not necessarily like taking it all on.
Exactly. Yeah. And also kind of to say that when we do that, it's like to be in that place where you're kind of completely grounded and compassionate through the entire meltdown, well, is a practice that we lead up to. But even kind of just catching that mini moment is that first step. But yes, I hear you. I go into that place too of kind of just taking it all on and being depleted afterwards. So yeah, that really
Yeah,
resonates with me
yeah.
too.
The kids bounce back and they're all like, we're okay, and I'm like, I'm not.
I'm not. Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's always really heartening for me to kind of also to have that same experience, the kind of that we all kind of feel the same things, and also to see that there is such a space for these practices to support us in those moments, and a kind of trajectory to be able to build that capacity for ourselves and be there for ourselves too when our kids are falling apart, because sometimes we're so focused on them that yeah, we miss ourselves in that moment.
Yeah, I really liked that mini exercise of like taking, take breathing in for
Yeah.
yourself, and then being able to, it's like the putting the oxygen mask on yourself before.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I tend to use that too sometimes, like not in, even when I'm just like in it in the moment, it's kind of that even just knowing that this practice exists a way to kind of check in and see what I'm needing in that moment, and using the breath to kind of guide that, whatever the quality is that I need to support myself, can be a really helpful one. Yeah. And then when we do these longer practices, we kind of build our muscle for the bigger moments that come as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's really wonderful to hear, yeah, what's resonating, and yeah, how this lands for you.
Yeah, it was really great. I and I'm so glad that I joined too, because I was like not sure about the other thing that I had a
Yeah.
conflict, and then it ended up being this morning. It was like a morning visit, and then I was like, oh yay, I can I can
Oh,
come to Vicky's, talk, and I was like excited, and I actually have a meeting after this too, and and I was like wanted to do this one. So yeah.
thank you for making this space. Yeah, I know that you had mentioned that it might have been a conflict, and I'm so happy that you made it. And if you know of anyone who, would benefit from this work, please do share the program with them. I'd love to have as many people and kind of have community around these practices. Yeah, it's my calling, and I want to share it with as many of us as I can.
Yeah, definitely. We Zora started kindergarten, and there's a
Oh,
bunch of CCC kids in her class. So I'll definitely share with the group.
that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and congratulations. That's a big milestone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good.
Wow. Both your babies are in bigger kid school now.
The thing that I had this morning was to go visit the upper school, because Aviva's going to be leaving fourth grade to go to fifth grade, and that's a whole other,
Oh my goodness. Next milestone,
whole
yeah.
other transition, like go
Yeah.
on to middle school. But yeah, do you have like a flyer with the link, or like a website or description that I could
Yeah, I'll
share?
send that to you. I'll send
Okay.
that to you, and everyone here. And then I'll also send the recording. I didn't mention that, but I'll send the recording of today, just a link in case anyone wants to listen again, or yeah. But I'll send more information. Thank you so
Cool.
much, Emmeline, for being here.
Too. It was so good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
And bye.
Bye.
Hi, Philip. I see you're still on here. Did you have anything that you were wanting to ask or share? Okay. I think we're at time. Philip, thank you for being here. I'm not sure if you're still on here, but thank you for being here. And I'm going to close the meeting. But if you have any questions, you're welcome to email me or to reach out. I can put my email over here. Okay, we're closing the meeting now.